Good morning, kids, or good afternoon, or good evening. This is Mr. Wexler speaking to you, and I thought maybe that since you're in quarantine for so long and it's been such a long time since you've been to school, I thought I'd bring a little bit of the world to you since you can't get out in the world. And what I have for you is a slideshow of my trip to Africa, an African safari. In December of 2014, I took this trip. Had a wonderful time and took some nice pictures, and I'm hoping that you'll enjoy taking a look at where I was and what I saw and what I did. Now, I went to a place in Africa called Tanzania. It's this little country that's on the east coast of Africa, the continent of Africa. And we traveled throughout Tanzania and saw three major national parks. And we ended up in an island. If you look at the eastern side, there's a little island called Zanzibar. Zanzibar is actually a part of Tanzania. It belongs to it, and I spent the last day or two there. Wonderful time. These are the people who I traveled with. It's a group of travel companions, and we were part of a group that it was a guided tour. You see me in the left, on the left-hand side at the back row, and in front you'll see five of our drivers. These guys are the ones who transported us all over the country. And the woman in the middle is our tour guide. She took care of all the details of this trip, and believe me, there were a lot. She was great. The first day I was there a day early, and I went to this local bazaar where they came around and they sold their goods and they bought goods there. It was very primitive and it seemed like a lot of fun. They said you're not allowed to take pictures there, but I snuck one or two in anyway. Not that I don't want to be illegal, but it was interesting. You'll notice that everybody brings stuff that they wanted to bring, and if you'll look over here, you see, there's a goat. Somebody brought a goat. So it was the kind of thing that everybody was there to do their shopping, so to speak. I took a picture of this young man. I asked permission first. His mother was there. And he seemed like a nice kid, and he's about the age, not too much different than you guys. And he reminded me of you, so I took this picture. And he was happy to have it done. The mother was happy to done. And when I was finished, I gave her a little something to show her my appreciation, which she really appreciated. This is the lake next to the place where I stayed. It's called Lake Duluti. Duluti is the Swahili word. Swahili is the native language that means deep, and it was deep. It's the second deepest lake in all of Africa, and it's 2,200 feet deep. No, I didn't go swimming, but we walked around to look at some of the wildlife. These are the vehicles that we were traveling in. They're called Toyota Land Cruisers, and they have moonroofs in them, not just one, but like three. And what we did was we would stand on the floor and we could stick our head through the roof and see what was going on and see the animals. It was very convenient, very bumpy because there were no paved roads. First place we visited was Tangiri National Park. We went to three national parks. This one was the first. And this one was noted for its elephants. So we weren't minutes when we started seeing elephants. Elephants were all over the place. And they were very used to people. At least they were used to the land cruisers that we were traveling in. And they really it didn't bother them that they saw us in these vehicles. They were used to us because the land cruisers didn't bother them, and they didn't bother the land cruisers because we weren't a threat and we weren't eating their food. So they let us alone. And there were a lot of them. And you can see that there was a mother with her calf. And there's the calf, and the calf apparently was scratching himself on that tree. And then all of a sudden we were surrounded by these things. They were all around. Wait till you see this. You know, you're not used to seeing this. in Richboro. As you can see, they were very close to us, but totally ignoring us. Beautiful, beautiful animals. Now here we see a mongoose. We see a lot of animals. This was a mongoose crowd. They're interesting little animals. We had a lunch the first day in the park, and they treat you very well from this tour. We had beautiful settings, and they catered it. We had food brought to us, or actually, this was a buffet. We had a very nice time, very comfortable, and beautiful place to have a picnic. That is a warthog. You probably know that from some of the movies you've seen. That little animal is called a dik-dik. It's the smallest antelope in the world. Very cute. They were all over the place, actually. And more elephants. The elephants were checking us out. And this is a family of elephants, I guess, although the males don't usually travel with the pack, the herd. Beautiful country, Tanzania in Africa. It was gorgeous. And you notice in the distance you see some mounds. Those are extinct volcanoes. The volcanoes no longer erupt, but they're there and they make nice scenery. We saw some huge elephants, so I took some pictures of them as we went along. And these are ostriches. The ostriches were fairly common, and they didn't bother us either. Giraffes, many, many giraffes. Giraffes are interesting animals. They are designed so that they can eat the leaves from what's called the acacia tree. And they can get to the leaves that the other animals can't get to because they're so tall. Now, all of a sudden, our driver stopped in the middle of the road or the trail, and he said to the group, "Anybody recognize anything here?" And I didn't know. I said, "Oh, yeah, it's a lovely rock." But a lot of people in the group, they knew exactly what it was. Yes, that was the rock, the ledge that they used in the Lion King. That's what it took. They took it after. That's what they based it on. More elephants heading our way. This was the cabin that I stayed in. A very nice little cabin with it had canvas sides, but it had a roof and it had a large bed with netting around it. It also had a sink and a toilet and a shower. So it was isolated from everybody else. There were other people who had similar cabins, but it was pretty luxurious for an African safari. Over here you would see some monkeys. That's a vervet monkey with its baby. Let's see if I get it. There it is. Vervet monkey hanging on to its baby. Very cute. I went for a walk and I saw this bird, and I don't know what it is, but I thought it was very pretty and very colorful, so I took its picture. Then we got a call that there was a leopard in the area that was in a tree, so we drove over to the tree, and sure enough, there was a leopard. And he wanted to make himself comfortable, so he went out on the limb and lay down, and so he just said to us, "Go ahead, take all the pictures you want." Ooh, the elephants. And we saw lions. These are two lions who were drinking from the trail, the road that we were on. And they were just lapping up the water, having a good old time. This was a lion I got a closer shot of. This is a immature male. You'll notice some of the spots on it, and that spots are there when they're first born, when they're cubs, as camouflage. And as they get older, they fade away. but he still had his baby spots. They showed us how the people there make paper. And how do they do it? They take the animal dung and they mash it up in a container that you can see, and they add water, and they add some ashes from the fire, and they mix it all up, and they flatten it out, and they let it dry in the sun, and that's their homemade paper. We actually used some of that paper to make a thank you card that we gave to our guide. We had a demonstration by the locals on throwing spears, and he was really good. He threw that thing and hit the target dead on. And I came close. I almost hit the middle. That was fun. And we saw some beautiful, beautiful scenery. There's another volcano. It's an extinct volcano. Driving along, more elephants. And I thought this guy was going to climb into one of those Land Cruisers. And he came right up to you. No peanuts for him. This was one of the biggest ones I saw. You'll notice the tusks. The tusks are really a tooth that grows. It evolved to become a tusk. And they're very valuable. In the old days, they used to shoot elephants. They still do. Poachers do. Just for the tusks. They would kill the animal. They would take the tusks, and they would just leave the rest of the body to rot. Now they're protected, especially in this area. By the way, you'll notice on the right there, you can see right behind his butt, look at that, a photobomb by a giraffe. And everybody gets into the act. Look at the tusks on that guy. These things live to be 100 years old. And you can see there's a giraffe eating the acacia leaves. The acacia leaves have a lot of thorns around them. The giraffe has a very long tongue, and it's able to get the leaves, eat the leaves without getting stuck by the thorns. These are, what are these? These are impala. Okay, impala. There are a lot of them around. This is an antelope. There are many, many antelopes, grass eaters. And another warthog. And zebras. We startled them. You can see they're getting ready to run. I asked him if I could take his picture, and he actually was very nice. He turned to me and said, "Go right ahead." We visited a local native village. These villagers are called Maasai. That's the name of them. Now, they're called indigenous. Think of American Indians. American Indians are indigenous to North America, where we live. And they were here long before Europeans came. The Maasai is an indigenous group, and they were very nice to have us there. We visited their village. And you'll notice, by the way, they have sticks. They all have sticks. In the old days, they were warriors, and they made spears, and they carried them around, and they used them on people. But the government now says, sorry, but you can't walk around with deadly weapons like spears. So they won't let them use the spears, so they use these long sticks instead to sort of symbolize the spears that they can no longer have. These are the women. They all have those ruffs that they wear around their neck, and they all go to the same hairdresser. The men came in with their stick spears, and they had a rally, and they came walking in like a parade, chanting and carrying on. It was pretty cool. Here they come. On a horn. Reminded me of ram's horn. This was an antelope horn. Here he was tooting on it. I took a picture. It reminded me of something called the shofar, which they use in the Jewish religion during the high holy days. Now they have the women there. See the women on the left. They are attracted to men for a strange reason. The guy who can jump the highest is considered the most attractive. You have to be able to jump high to make a hit, to get a date with one of those women. So we did a jumping contest. Now you can see that's me in the middle there with the striped shirt, and the guy I was with, he was jumping up. But we had a little contest there also, and the three of us went. We had the son of the chief of the tribe, and three of us. Now you'll see that I was jumping pretty good. And give you a spear, you held the spear in your hand. I had the wrong end. I said, hey, wrong end, hit it right. I held it right end, stood over there. The next thing you know, that's not bad for an old man. But I didn't get any dates. See, they thought it was pretty funny.
All right.
While we were there, we visited one of their huts. This is where they live. This is an actual. This isn't for show. This is for real. This is where they live. 4 people live in this hut, and we invited. This was the chief's son. We were invited to come in and take a look. Now it was pitch black. There was nothing you could see in there. I don't know how. There was a small fire. By the way, that hut is made out of elephant dung and water and straw and sticks, and that's how they live. And we went inside. There was one of my traveling buddies went in. That's the chief's son. And I used a flash, so that was the only way I could take pictures. That's their kitchen, and that's their bed. And I don't know how 4 people sleep in here, but I guess they. And that's where they had their storage. It was pretty primitive. We were now heading towards the next park. It was called Ngorongoro, and they had it's called a caldera, a crater. And we stayed at a hotel called Lake Manyara at the Ngorongoro Conservation Area in Tanzania. And this is a collapsed volcano, a monstrous one. It was 10 miles in width, and what happened was it went extinct and it collapsed on itself, and that's called the caldera. Some people refer to this as a crater, but that's not correct. And there I am on an overlook, and that's a African Cape buffalo. And those are more impala. And there's also some, those are called wildebeest. I'll give you a close wildebeest looks like in a minute. But we also had some, those are hyenas. They're resting, I guess, because they just ate. This is a crane, a European crane. They winter there. And there's the zebra and the wildebeest. They roam up together. They take care of each other. One of them's got a great nose and can smell danger. One of them's got great eyes and ears, and they can hear and see danger. So it keeps them both safe from predators like lions. And there's another zebra enjoying. Now that's a wildebeest. It's also called a gnu, G-N-U. They're pretty weird looking animals. Somebody once said that it was a horse that was put together by a committee. In the distance we saw a rhino. This actually looks black, but it's actually a white rhino. All the animals were grazing on the side. There's another ostrich. A lone wildebeest checking out the scenery. This is the national bird of Tanzania. It's called a gray-crowned crane. It's the national bird. It's absolutely beautiful. Lions, couple of male lions getting the sun. Female lions. More Cape buffalo. Those are huge animals. They weigh a ton apiece. And we stayed at this, and that was a view I had from my balcony. And also I saw the sun coming up. Beautiful sunrise over the Ngorongoro crater or caldera. Whenever I see this, it reminds me how beautiful Africa was. And we visited a place called the Oldapai Gorge. And this is where a man by the name of Louis Leakey and his wife Mary discovered some of the oldest human bones in existence. These are bones that had been petrified and dug up. They dug them up, and they were very famous because of it. A lot of people called it Olduvai with a V, but the real name is Oldapai with a P, and it's named after a tree that grows there, the Oldapai tree. This is the actual spot where they dug up those bones. Then we went to a fishing village, and it was right on the side of Lake Victoria. We were given a lecture about Lake Victoria, and that's the lake right behind the guy, and that's the lake right behind that guy. These were a fishing village. If you look, you can see in the water little white things. Those are floats that hold up a net. These guys on the left are pulling on that net. The net was out there all night, and now they're pulling it in. Now, I tried it, and believe me, it's like pulling on a rock. It was so hard to get that net in. You can see how huge it is. And then whatever fish they get, they sell. This is their livestock coming over to the water to get something to drink. And I did this, I pulled on it, as our guide tried it too. She had never done that, and it was really hard. We walked over to the school where the kids go to who live in this village. And it's a very interesting school. They speak English all the time. They learn English, even though it's not their native language. And the government doesn't like that because they want them to speak Swahili, which is the native language. But they want to do it in English because all the good jobs in the country, you have to know how to speak English. Wonderful kids. They came up and they grabbed you by the hand and they walked you around their village, showed you things. We even sang to them. So this was one of the schools, one of the classrooms. Everyone has a name because everyone was actually paid for by people who visited these places. They said that you can buy a classroom for $17,000. We'll build it and put your name on it. A lot of people did that. In fact, somebody in my group actually did that. And we asked the kids a lot of questions, and they asked us a lot of questions. It was fun. Now, we went to the last national park in Tanzania that we visited. That's Serengeti. This is the one that's most famous. The word Serengeti is the Swahili word for endless plains. Endless plains. And you'll see why when we get to it. We were on top of this hill, which is called a kopje. Take pictures. You can see this is endless plains. There's nothing, no hills, no nothing. And every one of those dots is an animal who's feeding on this grass. Thousands and thousands. And this wasn't the Great Migration. This was before the migration. This wasn't the rainy season. When the Great Migration happens, there's probably 5 times as many animals as what you're seeing here. Oh, there's baboons, mean animals. when we parked the vehicles, we were told keep your windows up because they will climb into the vehicle and steal whatever they can. Very powerful animals. We went for a morning balloon ride, hot air balloon ride over the Serengeti. If you can see on the left, the sun was just coming up. There were 4 balloons that went up, and we had 16 people in each balloon. We were crowded in pretty good. We flew over, drifted. We were never really that high. We're maybe a couple 100 feet at the most. But the river that we followed had nothing but hippopotamuses in it. You can see them all. And we followed along and took their picture. Here's a video of what we saw. See one there? Hippopotamus cause more deaths than any other animal in Africa. When we landed, we had breakfast. Off in the distance, there was a herd feeding. It was pretty cool. There's a really tall giraffe. And that thing's called a topi, T-O-P-I, topi. Here's a lion with a kill. I can't tell exactly what it is that it killed, but our guide said they hang around and they wait for it to cool down before they eat it. So he's just biding his time and waiting for dinner and making sure that nobody steals his kill. We didn't see the kill. These things are called hyrax. Hyrax. They're related to rabbits, and they're very interesting. We were actually at a rest stop, and these things were like squirrels. They were looking for handouts, and they were very cute. Here's a hippopotamus. Now this is interesting. If you look, see if you can count the hippopotamuses that are actually in this picture that you don't see because they're so beautifully camouflaged. There's quite a few. This is a little cabin that I stayed in. It's while we were in the Serengeti. This is a black-backed jackal. Black-backed jackal. And here's another place. And this was the kind of tent that we stayed in when we were in some of the other places. Same thing with the canvas sides, but all the amenities on the inside. Here we have a small python that was in the road sunning itself. We stopped at this river. It's called the Grumeti River. The Grumeti River is where the wildebeest that migrate each year, they have to cross this to get to where they want to go. And they have to run the gauntlet of crocodiles. The crocodiles know that they're coming and they're waiting for them, and this is like feast time for the crocodiles. Do you see the crocodile in the picture? It's a Nile crocodile and it's very big. And that's me trying to stay away from the crocodiles in the Grumeti. This is another group of impala. This was a herd. They all stick together. They're all females and there's one male that keeps them all in a group. More scenery. More black-backed jackals. 4 of them. We saw on the side of the road, one of the last things we saw when we were getting ready to leave the Serengeti was this jaguar, and she had 3 cubs that were trailing along with her. And we stopped and then we followed it as it worked its way across. Totally ignored us. Now take a look at this. It's really cool. What a beautiful animal. Fastest animal on earth, I believe. With 4 legs anyway. We ended the trip in that little island called Zanzibar, and we went out on a little exploration trip in a boat that they provided. And I went swimming and snorkeling in the Indian Ocean, which was a lot of fun. And at the end, we had a jumbo cake, which is a hello goodbye kind of a cake, at a very nice dinner that we had in Zanzibar. Well, kids, I hope you enjoyed that. This is Mr. Wexler talking to you from my house in quarantine. And I'm just hoping that someday you can get to travel the way I do. I love traveling. Now, if you have any questions about what you just saw, about anything there, I'll be happy to answer your questions. You can email me at tvtchr2222 at gmail.com, and I promise I'll get back to you. And whatever, have a great summer, stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the fall. Take care. Bye-bye.